also fine. So for today's session, we have these topics as agenda. Okay, we'll focus on these. Already discussed about user, the same we'll be creating in the system, and we'll understand what exactly the functional setup manager FSM. Okay, then we'll get into project creation, the environment called as functional setup manager. This you can call as application or tool. Okay, first we'll create the user. Okay, we'll create the user in the application. So user creation. So which user we are going to create? We are going to create implementation user. Okay, the implementation user you can create from IDM. Okay, implementation user you can create from IDM. Now we'll go and create the user from IDM. And when you create the user from IDM to work as implementation consultant, to give all privileges, okay, all kind of privileges to work as implementation consultant on any project, what roles we have to assign? Already we discussed application implementation consultant role and IT security manager. Okay, these two roles we have to assign to user. Then we can start implementing the we can start working on the system as a consultant. Okay, let's do it the same. So I'm going to connect to the server. So here first generally we'll get, already discussed, we'll have a two type of users. Okay, two users, one for application, other one for IDM. Now I'm going to log into IDM, but when you are working for IDM, we'll be having the user called as Excel sysadmin. Already that we discussed the last session. Here I'm going to log into the IDM with the user whatever we created already. This ERP. So this is a IDM landing page. So after login, what we have to do is here just click on administration. Okay, you can see that pop up as administration console. Click on this. Now we are going to create new user. Here we have a option to create the new user. Click on create user. Okay, done. So just I want to give the username. Say we can take, I'll go with Apple. First name and organization. As a part of user definition, it's a mandatory you have to select the organization. But reality, when you are creating the user, when you are going to start with the implementation, you can't find any organizations. Even after creating the organizations also, it's not mandatory you have to select the real organization as a part of user definition. So what we can do here is, Oracle is providing one seeded organization. Okay, just for user definition purpose. If you are going to create any user from IDM, you have to select that organization which is given by Oracle, which will support the user definition. That's it. There is no functionality behind that. Okay, what are the organization you select? There won't be any different behavior because you are selecting some organization. User can get access to only that. There are no rules on for that. Okay, just you have to select one value. Okay, as a part of user definition. This is the predefined values. This is also you'll be finding as predefined. These organizations somebody created. Okay, since they are not aware of, as these are really required here. Okay, so you no need to create organizations to associate with the user. Always select accelerate users. This is a predefined seeded value which you get in the fresh environment also. Just add it and select user type. Here we have to select the user type. So we have a different types, but when you select, you can select any one of the type. Okay, in this case also there is no different kind of behavior based on the user type selection. It's all about just classifying the user without any functionality behavior. I'm just going to select it as a consultant. We are creating the user for consultant. Done. Now if you want to give some display name for this user, you can give the display name. Okay, it's not required. Mandatory, you may provide the email address, everything. Now you can give the user login for that user. I'll give the same name, Apple. And when we are going to set the password, okay, when you're going to set the password, we have certain password policies. If you click on that, you can look into those points, which says, okay, password must not match or contain first name, and should not contain last name. There should be alphanumeric and uppercase, lowercase. Okay, minimum 8 character. That's how there are different conditions we have. By following that, you can set the password. Here I'm setting the password. Say welcome wcaps 789. Confirm the same password. Done. Okay, that's all. This is a basic user definition. Okay, there are many other information also which we have to provide when we are creating the user from IDM. Done. Okay, so this manager association also not mandatory, not required, because this user is not going to be the employee user, will be involving the business process. Before we start with this implementation for configuration testing purpose, these users can be used. Okay, so then click on save. Okay, so 1 second. Done. Click on save. Oh, this user already exists. I'll just use the user called as Samsung. Then click on save. User created. Okay, the user is created. Now what we have to do is we have to assign the roles. Basically we have two roles. Okay, those are application implementation consultant and IT security manager. To assign the roles to the user, select tab called as roles. Here we have a tab called as roles tab. You can select. By default, system assign the role called as all users. Okay, all users. We don't need to focus on that. That's the default assignment. Since user, it is just mapping with the uh, role called as all users. Nothing to do with that. Just click on assign. Click on assign. Here you can search for the role, which role you want to assign to the user. I'm going to search for application implementation consultant. Application implementation consultant. Sorry. So here you can see application implementation administrator, application implementation consultant, application implementation manager. You just select application implementation consultant. The application implementation consultant will be having the rights more than application implementation manager. Just add to your user, assign to the user. Done. And we have to assign one more role called as IT security manager. Just click on assign, search for IT security manager role. Done. then select. Here we have a selection, select, then say add. Done. These two roles we assign. Now what happens is when you are working on the system, when we do some setups or if you do some process related activities, there will be need of running some request. In EBS will go to the SRS window. From there we can submit request or we can run the report. That means we have access to SRS window, and so that we can go and we can run it. In the Fusion environment, if you need access to similar function, okay, it's a mandatory you have to assign the role called as employee to the user. Then only that user can have access to the request submission windows. Here basically we call as scheduled processes, so that from that environment, from that area, you can submit any request or reports. Here the request or report simply we call as jobs. We can submit the jobs. So to get access to that environment, to that function, okay, from this user, let's assign one more role called as employee role. Just click on assign role called as employee. Just click on add. Okay, done. Now we created a user. Okay, anytime if you want to reset the password, here from here you can do it. If you want to lock the account, you can lock it and disable or delete the user. All these actions you can perform from IDM. You can manage the users and you can assign the roles. Okay, done. Now just sign out from this user. Say I want to access to the application. Okay, I want to log into the application the same user. We created a user. For the user we assigned required roles to act as implementation consultant. So now I want to access to the application, Fusion applications. Now we access to IDM. Okay, to get access to application, okay, the browser, when you get this remote desktop credentials in the browser level, in the browser we just bookmark these two links. The same process you can follow. First sign in the sense you can sign into the application, the other one IDM, you can access to IDM. And it's not mandatory all the time, just you have to access to IDM from IDM you login page. You can access to the IDM from application also. That we'll discuss in the same session. Okay, we'll see that. So with the same user I want to log into the application. The username we given as Samsung and password we given welcome 789. So see here we have a forgot password. If user forget the password, what they can do is they no need to go and request the administrator to reset the password. On their own they can do it. For that, when they have to provide some security based questions, for security based questions they have to provide some answers. If they can answer the ASCIIs however they given, the system will allow the user to reset the passwords. Okay, I given the username Samsung and given the password whatever I given at the time of definition, then click on sign. Now system will ask us to reset the password. At the same time you can answer to the security related questions. Fine, done. Here old password welcome 789, just giving the new password. Done. Then you can answer to these questions. Say mother's mid name. Just I'm filling some test, random test here. Pet name to birth, so that I can remember very easily these points. Okay. Okay, so this is how I'm just filling. After some time if I forget the password, okay, you can go with the reset password. It will be asking the answers for these three questions. If you provide these answers, system will allow you to reset the password. That's all. Then click on submit. Okay, now you are in the application environment. Okay, you are in the application environment. Basically this area we call as a global area. What you can see, we'll understand more detail level in upcoming sessions, but now that is not required. So now what we have to do is we want to do setups related to application. First we'll navigate to the functional setup manager. Okay, we created a user, we'll discuss few points and we'll proceed. Functional setup manager we call as FSM. Okay, FSM. So what is the use of FSM? The simple point here is by using the FSM you can manage all your system configurations. To create the to do the setups, first we have to create the project. If you want to create the project, which modules you are going to implement, those modules you have to enable. By selecting those modules you can create the implementation project. Let's see what is the terminology they given for this application or business processes. Say we have a applications called as financials, right? Financials we have, and we have a procurement and HCM, PPM. Okay, these are the different applications they grouped based on the business process, right? The finance, based on finance process, they are grouped few applications that we are calling as financials. Based on procurement process, to support procurement process, which applications we have, those they group and we are calling as procurement applications. In the same way HCM and PPM. Okay, so when you look at these applications grouping, this group of applications, what we are calling as finance procurement, these as per function setup manager we call as offerings. So financials we call as one offering, procurement we call as one offering, HCM we call as one offering, and PPM also we call as one offering. So this set of applications which are grouped based on the business process, each we call as offering. Okay, fine. The financials we call as offering. Within the financials we have a different applications. Say GL we have, AP we have, ER, CM, FA, expense, etc. Okay, so when we call financials as offering, the application we should call it as options. Okay, that is the terminology they given in the function setup manager. Okay, for this group of applications under individual application, this also we call as option. Okay, GL we call as option, AP we call as option. In the same way AR, CM, each application will be called as option. So when you are working in the functional setup manager environment, this is how we have to identify, and this is the terminology we have to use. Okay, so we have a offerings and we have a options within that. When we are going to do the implementation, okay, when we are going to do the implementation, what we have to do is, does FA comes under financial offerings? Yes, Karthik, FA is a part of finance, right? It is, there is a part of FA. Just I didn't mention here since we can understand with these few points, that's all. Okay, so for offerings we have and options we have. Done. Now if you are going to create the implementation project, we have to create the implementation project based on the scope, which offerings and options we are going to implement for the client. Accordingly we have to create the implementation project. The point here is, when you are creating the project, you have to select which offerings we have to implement. Say I'll select offering called as financials. After selecting the offering called as financials, within the financials which modules we are going to implement, accordingly you have to select the respective modules. The same we are calling as options here. Done. At the time of project creation we have to select. If you want to select, first of all, those offerings and options should get enabled in the instance environment. Let me take simple example here. When we are working on R12, release 12 or 11i, okay, say you are going to create the primary ledger in R12. At the time of primary ledger creation, you will be selecting calendar, currency, chart of accounts and accounting method. If you don't enable currency, If you don't enable the currency you cannot find at the time of primary ledger creation. The same way, when we are going to create the implementation project in function setup manager, you have to first enable the offerings and options. Once you enable the offerings and options, then system will allow you to select those offerings and options into your project. Then you can complete the project definition. Then you can start with the system configuration. Okay, this is a process we have to involve. Fine. Let me just give you a few points what sequence you have to follow when you are working with a fresh environment. Okay, so first we have to enable the offerings. How to enable the offerings under options. So we'll enable the offering. Within that offering, which options required we have to select. After that, we'll create implementation project. How we'll create the implementation project? By selecting the offerings and options. Okay. As a part of implementation project creation, we'll be selecting offerings under options. Then what system will do is, system will generate task list. System generate task list automatically. What is the meaning of this? So it's a very simple. Say for example, we enabled offering called as financials, and we within the we enabled offering called as financials. Within the financials, say you selected only payables. That means you selected option called as payables. Then you created implementation project. Once you create that implementation project by selecting offering called as financials, but option is only payables. So what system will do is, system will generate the task list. It's nothing but to complete the payables related configuration, which setups we have to execute. Each setup, it will be generated as a one task. This task you can relate it to EBS as a function. In the R12, if you want to create the payment terms, you can hear some noise. Request you all to mute. Yeah, thanks. Okay. So in EBS, what we do in payables, if I want to create the payment terms, I'll take the navigation. There is a function called as payment terms function. Through that function, I can create the payment term. In the same way, if I want to create distribution set, I'll take the navigation. There will be a function called as distribution set. Then we can create it. Those functions in Fusion, you can see as a tasks. To complete the payables configuration in EBS, what we do, we'll set up financial options, payable options, right? Payment term, distribution sets, okay, bank accounts, all the setups will do. All those setups here you can see as a multiple task. The group of tasks only we are calling as task list. If you select option offering as a financials and option as a payables, to configure the payables application, which setups we have to perform, all setup list system will generate as a task list. By following that, you can perform all the setups in the system environment. That's all about, that is the meaning of task list. We'll see when we are doing it. Okay, so I have one question. I don't see his name. Okay, will it be possible to implement payables without GL as it has ledger details and system options? I guess. See, this case we don't see somewhere like no client. No, generally we don't see any client will go with the payables and all. Only payables. If at all somebody is just going with only payables, yes, you may not get the license for the GL, since the primary ledger definition is part of GL. You can create. Okay, you can create and you can use, but the functionality if you are going to use related to GL, Oracle may not support.
But still, Ramesh here, LAXMAN.
Yeah.
Ramesh here.
Yeah, Ramesh,
When
please.
you really look into this thing, even though I'm just going to have AP alone being installed,
Okay.
You will have the GL minimum offerings will be there, which will be like a basic setups of GL will be there. So you are telling that I'll be able to configure only payable related transactions, but I'll not be able to post the payable related information into GL and generate an overall report.
You
That's
can
what you're
see, yeah, you can do that also, but Oracle won't support if you have any issues. You know, in EBS also, if you take license for payables, you can go ahead and you can do all the configurations, right? When we'll get issue, when you have some issue, we'll report to Oracle. They just check their records, what is the agreement you have, then easily they can find out there is no license you taken for a certain area, so they won't support you. Here also the same thing is possible, but here since it's a cloud and all, they got a more control on that. If you are taking the license for payables, the dependency areas, yes, they will allow you. Other than that, they'll restrict you by limiting the role access. Okay, that's how it happens. You can create it. Okay, done. So that's all about the task list to understand. Okay, then system will create the task list. The next step would be, we'll start with the configuration. We'll do the system configuration. Okay, we'll start with the, say if you are going to start with this, maybe you may start with the calendar creation, chart of account creation, primary ledger. This is how we'll start with the configuration. And once before configuration, I can say, so one system will create the task list, the tasks, okay, we can assign to team members. We can assign, it can be task, or say I can say completely we can assign particular offering or specific option or specific task list or specific task also, anything. So I can assign as a project manager financial offering to one team member, or else within the financials only payables or receivables or GL we can assign to respective team member. If not complete option, within that option I may just assign 4 or 5 tasks to the team member, which we call as task list. Otherwise I may ask the so consultant just to do particular task only. Simple one setup, that's it. So this is how we can assign the offerings or options or task lists or tasks to the respective team member based on their responsibility in the project. Once assignment is done, we can start with the configuration. Then based on the configuration, okay, what is the progress of the project to track it, okay, we can update the status, so that we'll have a great visibility on the project. How many tasks are completed, how many tasks not yet started, how many tasks in progress, how many tasks are completed, everything. The manager or somebody who is monitoring the project, they will have a great visibility on the project. So because of this possibility in the Fusion applications, you don't need to go and maintain all this information outside the system. When you deal with the R12 projects and all within the application environment, we don't have any flexibility of creating the project, selecting offerings or options based on the scope of the project which you are going to implement. We cannot set up what is the start date and the tentative ending date, and how many which resource is working for which area, that you cannot map. And again, you cannot track the online status. And this is this is all not possible in a EBS environment. In the Fusion applications, this and all can be maintained within the system. The very basic level of project management function, you can say. That's it. Okay, with this function you cannot capture how much cost or billing, which can be facilitated by project accounting application as per Fusion PPM. It's totally different from that. It's just to manage your implementation project. Okay, so we can update the status. That's how we can start working on that. Okay, we are just talking about FSM, functional setup manager. Within the functional setup manager, what we have to do is, first we have to enable the offerings and options. Then we can create the project by selecting the required options and the offerings. Then system will generate the task list. At the time of project creation only, we can assign this project to project manager, or else who is going to head this project. And later, once task list is generated, these offerings or options we can assign to team members. Project you can assign to only one member, and offerings or options or task list or task can be assigned to multiple team members. And then we'll start with the system configuration. Based on the progress of configuration, we'll be updating the status. This is how we'll do. So apart from that, within this functional setup manager, what we can do is, we can export and import the data also. Okay, data we can import and we can export also. That we'll be discussing when we work on that. Okay, seems to have some question. Like, could you repeat once again about the assignment? Okay, so assignment is a simple, like when you have multiple consultants who are working for the project, they'll be working for a specific area. Which consultant is going to work for which area? I mean to say modules. Or else you are going to implement financials, procurement, and HCM. Say you have three consultants to deliver the solution. So financial offering will be assigning to finance consultant, HCM offering to HCM consultant, and procurement offering to procurement consultant. Or else say you have only financials and you have three consultants who are going to work on this implementation. Accordingly, we will be assigning which module, I mean to say which option, who is responsible. Accordingly, we will be assigning. That's what we are talking about assignment. Okay, in the same session we are going to see that in the system. So if you have any doubt or any clarification required, we can discuss on that. Before we get into that application, just I am explaining what we are going to do exactly, what sequence we have to follow. We are talking about it. Done. So imports and exports, we can just run the reports related to setups and we can see all those points, and we can move the data from one instance to another instance and one project to another project. Okay, those and all can be possible from functional setup manager. Okay, now we'll start with this enabling the offerings. Before we go and enable the offerings, okay, we'll just run through that, what is the traditional process we can follow and what are the offerings are available within this instance. Okay, we'll enable it. Before that, we'll see what are the offerings are available in this instance. Okay, and each offering will consist of which modules, mean to say options. That also will have a look, then we'll get into that. Once one instance to instances Oracle iSetup. Yes. Okay, you can move the setups from one to other. Okay, between the instances you can move, or else within one instance you can have multiple projects. From one project to another project also you can move the data. Okay, done. Fine. Now we have access to application. Now first what we have to do is we have to navigate to functional setup manager. We have to navigate to functional setup manager. To navigate to functional setup manager, okay, here we have a drop down option next to the username. You can click on the username or else you can click on this drop down option. Okay, let me reconnect. Okay, so see everything, each task which you perform in this application you can do in the single user interface, because there are no forms concept. Everything will run on the ADF web pages. Okay, now to navigate to the functional setup manager, click on user. Okay, click on user. So here we have a task called as setup and maintenance. Setup and maintenance. Once you click on this setup and maintenance, it will take you to the functional setup manager. You are able to access this environment we call as functional setup manager. Okay, we are able to access to this functional setup manager because we assigned role called as application implementation consultant role to this user. Okay, that role is giving these provisions where we can access and we can do certain configuration related activities. Okay, done. So to navigate to the functional setup manager, we have to click on the user, then task name is setup and maintenance. Now we are in the functional setup manager environment. So first task what we have to do in the fresh environment, we have to enable the offerings. By default, in every fresh environment, all offerings will be in the disabled mode. Which offerings you require for your client, you have to enable, then you can start with the project creation. Before we go and enable these offerings, we'll just go through which offerings are available, then we'll go to that page screen where we can enable those offerings, and we'll try to understand what is the traditional implementation process which we are following, or what Oracle is talking about as a part of this implementation process. Okay, so in the left side you can see all the tasks. We have a separate panel. Within that, this here you can see these all are the tasks. So out of that, under implementations, click on getting started. Okay, there is a task called as getting started. That means before you go and do the implementation, before you start with the implementation, okay, you have to plan for implementation. You have to know which modules you have to implement, what are the features are available from each and every application, that you can get overview on that. So for that, just click on getting started. If you click on getting started, here you can see the implementation process. First will be planning, then will be configuring. Planning in the sense will be identifying which applications we have to implement. Configure in the sense, don't take that configuration system configuration. It's all about we have to enable the offerings, which offerings we require. Implement, okay, means here you can start doing the system configuration. Export and import, you can, instead of doing some setups directly through spreadsheet, you can import, and the same data, setup data, you may export to move to the other instance. And you will have a here transaction, just you will be start using the system. Meantime, just once that is done, we'll give the training to the users. User will start using the system, then it will go to the next step called as maintenance activities. Regular base users will be using, and it just next step would be maintenance. That's how the project will start and just reach the final stage of go live. Okay, which we call as a maintenance. It will be under maintenance then. Okay, done. Okay, this is all about this process we know very well. Only the point here we have to understand, it's all about import export. They given great flexibility for different setup datas. Let's see here one question: how to find version of the Oracle? Let me know. Latest. Sure. I'll show you that. I'll show you definitely. Okay. So Srinu, please mute yourself. Yeah. Done. Okay, see now here you can see different offerings. Okay, here we can see the different offerings. One second. Seems to it's okay. Now what we'll do is we'll go to the financial offerings, and what are the different options are part of these financials, we'll try to understand. Okay, here you can see all offerings. You can see the title as offering. These all are the different offerings. Okay, so coexistence for HCM, compensation management, customer data management, enterprise contacts, financials, fusion accounting hub, incentive compensation. These all are different offerings. Within these offerings, we'll have different modules which we call as options. Now, if you want to know the brief, very descriptive information, just description, what exactly we have as a part of financials, simply you can place the cursor on that offerings icon. So here you can see the description. So with the financials offering, we can configure the financial flows. Which flows? Including assets, ledger. Here ledger means general ledger. And cash cycle, cash management, invoice and payment, accounts receivable, collections, and subledger accounting and tax configuration. These all are part of financials offering. Okay. So if you want to know the detailed information in this offering for each and every application, what are the features we have and what are the setups need to be performed, or what is the content guide, if you want to get that information, simply you can click on this offering. Just click on this. If you place the cursor, it will give the description. If you click on that, it will open this documents page. So finance related offering related, all the information you can find within these documents. Offering content guide, associated features within the financials, setup task and task list, related business objects, related enterprise applications. All this information you can find. You can download these guides or the documents, the different formats, PDF or HTML or Excel. Okay, any one of the format you can download it. Just let us download offering content guide for financials. Means the task and all related to which application, some dependency related information you can find it. say I'm going to create something buyer is purchasing related. I may create in finance in fusion point of it's a mandatory you should have a buyer definition. Here basically we call it procurement agent, otherwise you cannot create the supplier sites. So such kind of information you can see. You can go through it when you get access to instance. You can download and you can go through it. Everything will be there. The part of it. See here, content guide. Okay, in the finance content guide, so they are talking about each and everything. So invoice, payables, receivables, relate all the setup, which setups you can perform. And if you scroll little down there, you can see the description also. Adjust customer balances means periodically adjust customer, okay, uncollectible balances, etc., etc. All the descriptive information also you can find. What task you are performing, or as what future, what purpose of that future, easily you can understand. Okay. Okay, close payables periods. See simple information. You have to run payables data extract program, submit period close reports, manage payables invoices, submit unaccounted transaction report, review payables to general ledger reconciliation, manage payables. So this sort of information you can find out as a part of this. Okay, all the features. Okay, this offering consists of what you can perform. Ramesh, I am getting many questions from you. Okay, I cannot answer this stage because if questions from different people I can answer, but I can see 4 5 questions, 7 6 7 questions in this. I can answer, I'm ready to answer, but may not be that much frequently because we have to go ahead with the class. If you have many questions, you can make a note. After that, we can connect and we can discuss. Okay, so many questions I may not be able to answer in this stage. Reason is just we have to run through the session. Okay, after completing I'll give you the time, then you can post me all the questions, no issues, so that the people who are interested to attend those questions they'll be there, otherwise they'll be quitting from the session since we'll be completing the session by the time. Okay, done, we'll do in that way. Okay, this is how we can download the those documents and you can go through it so that you can get some information about it. Okay, so then you can quick start with the implementation project. Done. So this is just any document. Here you can go to task list and task. Here just it will give the list of configuration steps, how many tasks, how many setups you have to do implement financial applications. Okay, for financial offerings what we have to implement, all you can find within this document. In the same way we have different documents. When you are just before you start with the project creation, you can just download and you can go through it, or it will take 10 to 15 minutes, not more than that. So here you can see list of setups. Okay, all setups, which setups you have to perform, including optional and mandatory. Okay, here they are mentioning it, required, no means optional setups, everything, all list of setups you can find it. Okay, that's how these documents will be useful. Done. Okay, this is all about just to get some information. What is the process? What Oracle says as a standard process. Generally, the same will be following. When you say import and export, generally will be importing the data, conversions will be loading the data, similar to that. But here in the fusion, it's a totally the different practice we'll be discussing. These are the different offerings available within this instance. Okay, done. Now the first step, what we'll do is there is another step also which need to be performed. We'll discuss about it once we create the project. I'll touch that point where we have to load the geographies information. Okay, in every instance what we can do is, see here we have two options where you can enter the data. Can you repeat what is project? Yes, we are going to do it. You can understand the project is nothing but which will be just talking about which applications we are going to implement. It'll group all the applications, which applications you are implementing, that only we call as project, so that we will be able to monitor the status. We can assign that implementation related activities to the consultant. Okay, we'll see that what is the project we are going to create now. Okay, fine. So just I'm clicking on done so that we can exit from this screen. Done. So now first task is we have to enable the offerings. Okay, in the fresh environment by default all will be disabled mode, so you have to enable. Since this is an environment which we are using for training and people practice, so you can find almost all the offerings already enabled, because for practice purpose people already did that. So to enable the offerings, select this task name is configure offerings. Okay, configure offerings. Okay, configure offerings, done. So here it's already, these all are expanded, somebody did that. So I'm just minimizing so we can see, just I'm collapsing that, you can see detail level. So when you go to getting started, there also you can see all the offerings, right? There you can see all the offerings with some icon representation. Here they are giving the folder based option offerings. Whatever you see there, the same you can see here. Okay, these are the list of offerings we have within our instance. If you are going to implement financials, simply you can go and do enable it. Once you enable, okay, in the fresh environment, once you enable, since already it's enabled and somebody updated status as implemented, okay, you can click on status and you can update the status also. This selected, not started, or in progress, or implemented. This is how you can keep the status. Since somebody changed the status, you can see as implemented. So once you enable it, automatically system will expand the financials. So there you can see all the options, which options we have as a part of financial. Say if you want to implement payables, you have to enable supplier invoice processing, enable it. If you want to implement fusion expense, which is equal to I expense in R12, okay, you can enable it. If you want to implement fixed assets, you have to enable this option. To implement receivables, enable this option. To implement advanced collections, you can enable it. You don't see as a general ledger, that you don't need to select. If you are going to implement any application, general ledger application need to be implemented. I mean to say the primary ledger or basic definitions need to be done. That is the reason that they didn't give you as an option to selection purpose, but that is there as an option. It will come automatically along with these product whenever you select it. You will get access to that, because these applications you cannot run without general ledger application. That's how it will be accessible. Okay, done. Fine, but again that depends. If you have a license, you may opt all the features you can start using, or else you may use it just for setups, then to work on these applications. So again we have a business intelligence related areas also, which falls under different options. Done. So this is how we have to enable. Again, if you want to implement procurement also, again you have to go to procurement and you have to enable, and once you click on enable, it will expand what are the options we have in that. You can see that. Okay, just 1 second. So within that we have a different options: self-service procurement, supplier portal, sourcing, procurement contracts, all we have. So which options you require, you can enable. Okay, this is how just we have to do it. Then you can click on save and close. Okay, you can click on save and close. Done. This is how we have to enable the offerings and options. After enabling the offerings and options, what we have to do is we can create the project. Just I'm again navigating to function setup manager. So to create the project, here we have a task called as manage implementation projects. Okay, manage implementation projects. So here you can see all the implementation projects which are created in this instance environment. Many projects we have. Is all are from people, I mean the people who are practicing and all. Is all just testing related projects. Many projects we have. It's a very big list. You cannot go to end. Okay, leave it. So done. So these are the all existing projects within this instance. Now to create our own project, what we have to do is what we are discussing. First we have to select the task called as manage implementation projects. Okay, and just click on create. Okay, click on create. Here you can give the project name. I'm going to give the project name as Samsung implementation project. Here by default it is taking some default numbering. Okay, just I remove that. Just the name is Samsung implementation project. Just tab out, automatically the same name it will default to the code as well as the description. The default system is taking not started. Yes, we are just creating. There is no scope as where the project will be running. So by default, the status is not started only. Later you can update to in progress or completion based on what you are going to do it. I mean to say, once you start, you can change the status to in progress. Once you complete, you can change the status to completed. And by default, the project will get assigned to the current user. From which user we are creating the project, to that user only. If this user is not right user, you may assign this project to some project manager or somebody. Before that, you have to create that project manager as a user in the system. Done. Let it take Samsung only as a manager here. And what is the starting date, and you can provide the tentative finish date for this project. It's not mandatory to give the finish date. So after providing this information, what we can do is, if you want to change the assignment, simply you can click on drop down, you can click on search, and you can assign to other team member called as, say, LAXMAN. I think this name is there. Click on search. Okay, so you can assign to this team member and say, so just you select here. Okay, you select that and click on find. Seems to there is some network issue. 1 second, let me reconnect from other source. 1 second. Fine, done. Hope it will be working fine. So then select user and say okay. Now this project is assigned to Mr. Lakshman. That's it. So now, okay, we just given the project title and the description and the project assignment and start date and ending date information you can provide in this stage. Then click on next. Click on next to select the which offerings and options you want to implement for this project. So you can see list of offerings here. Reason these all are already enabled in our environment. Okay. So now we want to implement financials. Okay. Select enable financials. It will expand. From financials, you are going to implement which modules for your client. Those you can select. Say payables, expense, assets, receivables, intercompany, collections, intercompany. Okay, and financial business intelligence and analytics. Okay, you can select all these. So it's not required. Done. Then you can say along with that, well, anyway we'll be doing the basic setups for purchasing also. We'll select procurement also for our implementation project. So this is a procurement. So enable procurement. Select within the procurement offering what options we require, you can select. Okay, done. Then say save and open project. Once you click on save and open project, based on the selected options, system will auto generate the task list. Means to complete all modules related specific what setups we have to perform, that system will generate automatically. Let's see that. Click on save and open project. Okay, it takes some time. Reason it has to generate the task list for all the options. Okay, done. It created. Okay, I think I selected FAH also. So the reason it's created. Now this is our project. So what is the status of our project? Not started. If you want to update the status, what stage roles get created for project? No roles will be get created for project. Question from, I think there is no name. Okay, system won't create any roles for the project. Based on our setups, roles will be created. When you create the primary ledger, system will create the data roles. When you create the operating, means business unit, as per Fusion, system will create the roles. The same when you create the corporate or tax book, system will create the data roles. The same way, inventory point of view, when you create inventory, it will create the inventory related roles. So when you create the project, no roles will get generated. It's all about system will generate the tasks, nothing but setup list. That's all. Fine. So this is a project. So I want to update the status. Now we are going to start working on the project. The same I want to update as a in progress. So to update the status for this project, click on edit. So here you can change the status to in progress. Done. So if you want to change the employee also, you can change it. But current user is Samsung. Let's go ahead with the same user. Okay, I'm changing the project assignment also. Save and close. Done. So now you can see the status as in progress. Done. Now say the financials we want to assign to one consultant. Okay, financials we want to assign to one consultant. In that case, what we have to do is this offering. This first before that we'll go and see the what are the task list system generated. Just expand these financials. So see system created to complete all the financial module related setups. Which setups we have to do in the system all created as a task list. These are different task lists. If you expand this again within that sub task list will be there, or else directly task will be there. In EBS case, okay, we'll have a sub menu and function. The same way here, task list and a task. See here, expand define enterprise structure for financials. And if you just expand again, define financial reporting structures. Here you can see all the options. Here, define chart of accounts. This is also task list. You can expand that. Here we have a tasks where we can create the value set, structure instance. We'll discuss what is structure instance all about in Fusion, and value set values. The rest all you can see from here. So this is what we are discussing. System will create the task list under tasks. So these we call wherever you see go to task icon. These all are all comes under tasks. Wherever you don't find any go to task icon, that we can call as task list. Even in EBS also, like if you have a submenu, with the submenu you cannot do anything. Within that we'll have a task. With the task one, when you click on task, that will open the form. Here also, once you click on this go to task icon, the particular function, particular task will get open where you can define something. So it is in sequence for configuration, yes, but not everything. Okay, you can see in the sequence, but not in all the cases. When you are working on finance, certain task list wise in sequence, but in overall configuration will be switching from one to another area to complete the setup. The overall implementation sequence we don't have, but task list related sequences we have. That's it. Okay, done. So this is how you can find the task within the task list. This is all we call as task list. Okay, done. Now let's see how to assign specific offering or option to team member. See here, this is a financial offering. If you expand this, within that we'll be having the options. See here, options we have expense configuration, fixed assets configuration, receivables configuration, payables configuration. This is how you can find it. Okay, within the financials, these are the different options we have. Fine, I just want to assign the complete financial implementation responsibility to one team member. In that case, how to assign? Select, here we have a selection area, select it, then click on assign tasks. It can be task or offering or options. The tab name is assign tasks only, because within that will have a task only. Just click on assign tasks. You want to assign to whom? Just click on add. Here you can give the username. I'm just giving my name. And select and say apply. Say done. The same way I can assign this financials implementation to multiple team members also. Done. I assign to two team members. Then say save and close. Only financials offering I assigned, not specific option, all options. Done. Now if you expand this offering of financials, just let me expand this. Now see here, you can see this task means within the financials all the tasks are assigned to the same team member. So here you can see this task is assigned to one team member, name is Apple. One more, if you place the cursor you can see the name LAXMAN. So this is how you can see. Say for example, these team members completed this task, run user and role synchronization process. Say they completed the task. In that case, they can update the status. Here we have a status icon. For this, for project status is in progress, but respect to task or option or offering status also you can set it up. If you want to set this as the task status, you can just click on this, or else you select and click on edit status. Anything you can just click on this. Directly you can click on the status. Here you can change the status to, say for example, I completed this task, so I can set the status as a completed. Then don't think if I set status is completed, again we cannot perform. Just it is to track the status only. There won't be any control on the uh, process. I mean, there won't be any control on the related application function based on the status. Just to track and understand the progress of the project only. If I set if the status is in progress or not yet started or completed, whatever it may be the status, the function will behave one way only, same. Okay, I have one question here. Status is not automatic. No. Status you have to set manually. Okay, that if you completed that, if you think you complete as per requirement, then you can set to the status as a completed, so that will be tracked at the project level, so that manager or somebody can understand how much percentage of the tasks are completed in the system. That's it. It's not automatic, we have to manually update. Okay, so this is how just you can assign. Also if you want to assign this particular task also you can assign. Just now we discussed. Okay, particular task if you want to assign, so for example here invoice and payable supplier configuration, we have say supplier number. Only this task I want to assign to specific person, a specific team member. In that case, select the task, then say assign tasks. Already that is entire financials assigned to this two team members, right? You may remove this assignment only for this task. You may assign to other team members. This task should be performed by this associated employee. Say Airtel. Say apply. Done. So now this task is assigned to this Airtel user. Done. So this is how just you can create the project. You can set the status for the entire project. You can assign the project to team members. I mean to say manager or someone who is responsible. The same way you can assign the entire offering or specific options or particular task also. If you want to assign the particular offering also, same process. Here we have a list of offerings as a part of financials, right? Here we have a oh, just well, let me go to it. Here just I have to collapse this 1 second. Here I can see, for example, I want to assign this payables implementation to one consultant. Then select it, and you can say, again, for example, say we started implementing the payables. It's under progress. So I can change the status only for payables. Status is in progress. And this assignment, this is only payables we want to assign to other team member. Then you can go with this, and you can assign to someone. Okay, say ITC user. Yes, we can select more lines at a time. More lines in the sense tasks at a time you can select. How to select? Let's see here. So here you select, hold shift and select up to here, all will get selected. Okay, select one task or task list or one or multiple offerings, then hold shift and go to your targeted offering or option or task list or task. Then for all these at a time you can update the status, you can assign at a time. Okay, updating you can do one by one. That's it. Okay, that's how we can do it. So we're done. So this is all about project creation. And if you want to create anything, say for example you want to create the calendar. If you want to create the calendar, we have a navigation. See here, the path here you can see. Okay, financials. You should know the navigation. We have a shortcut also, which is very simple. Okay, you have to expand the financials. Then here you have to expand this task list called as define common financial configuration. Okay, within this you have to select. Okay, think one second. Okay, here just you can go the common application configuration. Okay, you have to expand under financials, go to define common application configuration for financials. Under that you can find another task list called as, okay, here we have, this is a task list, define enterprise structure for financial. This is what we have to expand. Within that you can find other task list called as define financial reporting structures. Then if you want to create the calendar, here you can expand define calendars folder, and here we have a task called as manage accounting calendars. You just click on, go to task icon, it will take you to the accounting calendar definition page. Here you can create it. Another point here is, we have to just, if you want to create the user and if you want to assign the roles to the user, that is possible only in IDM. So one option is directly you can log into IDM, then you will be able to create the users, or else you can assign the roles to the users, whatever your need requirement you can perform related to the users. Instead of directly navigating, instead of accessing IDM with a separate URL, what you can do is from here also you can navigate, means from application you can navigate to IDM. Say application is a separate tier and IDM is part of middleware. If you want to switch from here to there, or else if you want to connect to that, what you can do is, here we have a task. Within the implementation project you can search for uh, implementation users. Means you want to create the implementation users. Search for this task. Any task you can search like this. You don't need to take the navigation. So create implementation project. Okay, create implementation users. Click on any one of the task. So this is the create implementation users. Click on go to task icon. Now it will take us to IDM. That's it. You don't need to log in separately. Then you can go to administration, right? And from here you can create the user. This is how you can do. This is the one task which you can use. If not this task, you can just use manage job roles. Okay, other task name is manage job roles. This task also we can use to navigate to idea. This also will take us to idea. Okay, other than these two tasks, we have one more task. I'll show you. So when you here itself, you can find role provisioning. Okay, user role provisioning. There will be separate task. Let me just navigate from here. You can see that. See, this is the task. Okay, provision roles to implementation users. Okay, with this task also will navigate us to IDM. So you don't need a separate login. Generally, when you are working, you from here will be able to access to IDM. So provision role to implementation users. It will take us to IDM on. So these are the different tasks we have to navigate to IDM. One is provision roles to implementation user. The second one is create implementation user. The third one is manage job roles. Okay, these are the different tasks we have here. If you want to create the calendar, say create accounting calendar. Say for example, I don't know the full name. What is the exact task name? Here each task, almost most of the tasks will start with a manage. I want to create the accounting calendar. Okay, accounting calendar. Then click on go. Strong. Okay, accounting calendar. You can see here. So same task is available from the different offerings. From finance you can create accounting calendar. From procurement you can create. In the same way you can create from Fusion Accounting Hub FAH. Okay, from these three offerings this task is available. Any option, any task you can select, but ultimately the definition will be the same. I'm selecting it, manage accounting calendar. Okay, without taking the navigation I'm able to locate to this accounting calendar. But if I want to know the navigation after searching, just if I want to see, what I have to do is, here you have the show hierarchy icon. Click on this, it will show you the detailed navigation. So how you can navigate if you want to navigate through manual process? First you have to go to financials, then the task list name is define common applications configuration for financials. Within that, other task list name is define enterprise structure for financials. Then within that you have to expand this define financial reporting structures. Within that reporting structures you can find define calendars. If you expand that, there you can find the manage accounting calendars. Okay, this is how you can find. Okay, done. So I have one question here. Can I secure my project? What do you mean by securing the project? What exactly you are trying to say? Other cannot change. See, if the access, when you talk about implementation project, the access will be given to all the consultants. Okay, all the consultants. In that case, definitely. This is only at the time of configuration. Only for configuration purpose only it will be used, not for the transaction process. Okay, so because you will be selecting all the offerings into project, so that's how we'll be doing. Okay, if you want to see what we have a separate roles also. If you want to have access to only financials, okay, financials, the finance related role also we have. In that case we'll be able to access to only financials. In the same way, procurement means the project will be the same based on the roles which are assigned to the user. Accordingly, for relevant area also the user will get access for setup area. Okay, that's how also we can just control. Okay, that option also available. But since it's going to be implementation environment, definitely there will be some dependency. There should be provision for the consultants where they can go and do the setups related to other areas also to start this implementation or to look after the integrations, etc. Okay, But in terms of business process, definitely there should be enough security where one should not access or one should not see others' data or transactions, anything. Okay, that's how it works. So this is all about the project creation, task assignments, and how you can navigate and you can create something. Okay, and I have one question here. In an organization, if you have 5 consultants, 2 projects are running, but the team has to execute both the projects. Is it possible to configure the same username? Same. Here you can create those 2 projects. Okay, and you can the total team members can have access to that. You can do that. Okay, for that you no need to do anything. Just right away whatever we did, that will be enough. In that case, the 2 projects are required for whom you can assign. Simple. Now this project is assigned to only this only this employee. Said only this resource, Samsung. Now what happens is, if I go to manage implementation projects, I can see all the projects which are there in this instance. Okay, and if I go to this environment here, see here, what I'll do is, for example, I'll click on setup and maintenance. Okay, I'll access to this functional setup manager. If I go to implementation projects, here I can see what are the projects are assigned to the Samsung user only. The same way you can assign those 2 projects to this user. Okay, 2 projects to this user, and in that case that user will be able to access to those 2 projects. Okay, that's how you can do in one way. And other thing is, you may restrict. Okay, you may remove this option from that role, whatever the standard role we have. Generally by default you cannot remove from that. You have to make a copy of the seeded one, the copied environment. You can just remove this manage implementation project task, so that no one can create the project. Only existing project they'll be able to work, which project to assign to whom. Okay, that's how we can do. Or else the ownership you can give to only one person, all other people has to access, means you have to allow them to go and see from here. Then you'll be able to do it. Okay, so that is a possible. Through which function they are able to access those, you can just disable it. So that's how we can manage. Okay, fine. Now just you can ask me if you have any other questions the people were asking earlier. Any questions on today's session? Okay, I'm not going to take this session for 2 hours since we got some constraint. People has to make the payment. It's already 3rd session, and tomorrow we'll be sending the link for the paid participants. Okay, fine. That's all for today. If you have any questions, please ask me. We'll discuss now itself. Otherwise, we may just connect and discuss in the next session. Okay. Any questions? Instead of typing in the chat window, you can just unmute and you can ask me, so that we can have a quick discussion.
Can we have one demo access for the instance for one day?
Sorry?
A demo access to the instance, so that we can try out whether it is working from our place or not.
It will work from all the places. That's how we have a instance. We cannot give it. I'm sorry for that. It will be working from all the places. No, we cannot give for 1 hour also, because we have proper instance. Okay, we are not going to say it's working and later we'll find it is not working. The people are accessing from the different time zones. I mean, from US, UK, and from different countries they are accessing. So there is no issue with this. Okay, so that's all we have.
Okay.
Fine. Okay. Fine. If any other questions, we can have discussion. Otherwise, we can wind up. We can see you tomorrow with the finalized participants. Okay. Fine. See you tomorrow. Thanks. Yeah, Ramesh, please.
Now, what is the version that we are using? We are using only Oracle 8 or 11 we are using, or Fusion.
So for this training, we'll be using release 8. What are the course content I given? Everything is working smooth. There are no issues. We have a few bugs that already we fixed. Okay, by applying some patches. Since this is the on-premise instance, we can apply. But generally, when you are working real time, it all will be cloud. We cannot have that control. patch application also will be done by Oracle only. So whatever the course content you received, everything can be executed in this environment. If you just go through training in this instance, even practice time also don't get any issues. If you have something, you can report us, we can fix it. There is no issue. It's for training purpose, I can say it's a it's a stabilized instance, because we are giving training, people are practicing, we don't find any issues. So if you once you complete the training in this instance, you can work on any version. The other versions only you see some framework little bit they changed, something like that. The functions what we are discussing, they didn't change anything within the whatever we are going to discuss now. And you may see few
So you mean
functions
to
are
say
added
that,
in. Please, yeah.
yeah, you mean to say that there is no major difference between release 8 and release 11, which is now being offered by Oracle?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is what you are going to learn based on this course, the same will remain, same will you can find in the latest versions also as is. For these areas which you are covering, no changes I am saying. There are few, definitely version to version, there will be few things, but always we should be ready to explore. Okay,
And
those if you guys if are aware of EBS, for them it's not challenge. Even that's what we are recommending. The people who has knowledge or experience on EBS, those people can attend. Who are something like beginners, we never recommend these classes. That's it. Okay, any questions? Fine.
LAXMAN probably, yeah,
Yeah, please.
LAXMAN, that I'm trying to add that account number for amount making payment.
Okay.
It seems like incorrect account number is showing. Can you
No.
please
See,
provide us?
that is the correct one.
Actually, yeah.
We will provide some other number. Okay, we'll do that.
I'll try one more time today. I'll contact you.
Yeah, please. That is that is the one which we generally give it to the candidates to get the.
Might be I'm incorrect. I'll try one more time and then.
Prabhakar, right? Yeah, Prabhakar. Sure. Just what I'll do is I check whatever the number we give and I'll try to provide alternative number. You can go ahead with that.
Sure. Thank you, LAXMAN.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for everyone like attending this session. Okay, we'll catch tomorrow the same time. Thank you.